I'm Zach. I'm a second-year medical student, and I'm on track. I've always wanted to do graduate school, some form or another, and medicine, it offers something different than most other graduate schools. You know, I've always been a big sort of sciencey guy in high school and all that, and medicine it offers intellectual rigor as well as a personal hands-on touch that I sort of think any good career should have. So it's basically a unique profession in that sense. It's intellectually rigorous. You have to think about basic first principles a lot, but then also you have to maintain a sort of professional, interpersonal, physical ability, especially when you're doing like surgeries and procedures and stuff. So I feel like that medicine offers that special kind of career that isn't available anywhere else. I prepared before undergraduate, for my undergraduate experience. I actually prepared in high school. I was a part of the Health Occupation Society of America. I volunteered at a local hospital when I was a senior in high school. And that was basically the first step into what I did in undergraduate. As far as my undergraduate degree is concerned, I maintained all of that, and I added on top of that, I sort of involved myself in various clubs, different interests that I had. And I selected a major that is sort of medicine related, though I wouldn't say that that's a prerequisite or even necessary for someone who wants to go into medicine. I was a neuroscience major. So so I would say I prepared myself in those different respects, in the academic respect, the extra academic respect in terms of volunteering and so on, and also studying for the MCAT, keeping close contact with the pre-profession, advising people. That was definitely another sort of vital component I don't think enough people emphasize. One of my big personal interests is economics. That sort of ties in with my general interests in humanity, I guess you could say. I don't mean to sound too poetic about it, but bigger than that, I think the point of being set apart is you have to ask yourself, what would the admissions committee know about me? What would they identify me as someone who got good grades? Would they identify me as the guy that wrote in the student newspaper for 5 years and cares deeply about race and politics and economics or whatever? So that was sort of my premise going into it. That's why I sort of selected the thing, identified certain things that I really like. Economics was one of them. But I mean, it can be anything. I was a member of several clubs. I was a president of the Neuroscience Academic Society, where I went to school. So it really doesn't matter what you do. In fact, I'd say that's another big message that if I could give to anyone would be to pursue your own interest. Whatever you are really good at, do that thing, as long as you get a bachelor's degree out of it, and as long as it's very significant. So I know several students in my class, they were French majors, violin majors, they were sciencey people. They had to do prerequisites to get in, but that wasn't their focus. I decided based on a couple criteria: location, what my wife wants, like any married person should decide, and I'd say, and this is sort of my personality sort of at work, but I like the kinds of institutions that don't stifle freedom, particularly freedom of speech, freedom of expression. There are a lot of politically correct speech codes on many campuses, and one important part of my life is sort of representing who I am in the fullest sense, not being offensive or whatever, but trying to, put in my 2 cents. And the University of Utah's philosophy, particularly in that area, is very acceptable. I really like that piece of it. But on a greater note, it just general facilities, obviously, but that's basically it. I'd say I studied my undergraduate courses, but more directly, I don't think it's a good thing to just use the courses as a study tool. You have to have a focused study regime that sort of tailor fits your needs. A lot of people prefer the Kaplan course. I use the Exam Cracker course, which is not a course in and of itself. It's just a set of books that cover all the sections of the MCAT. The MCAT stands for Medical College Admissions Test. You have to take it to enter basically in a medical school in the country. It's one of the basic requirements, and there are 3 sections: the physical sciences section, the verbal reasoning section, and the biological sciences section. Whatever prepares you the best for those is obviously what you have to do. I mean, it sort of goes without saying, but the kind that I preferred was the Exam Crackers. It had little stupid mnemonics that I even remember today that helped me. You know, I'll be in the middle of a clinic with a patient, and they'll have a certain, you know, symptomatology, and I'll just spout out all these stupid mnemonics that I remember from years back studying for the MCAT. So as long as you can sort of personalize things that you will remember, I would say just go with that. There's no, you hear anyone say, oh, do this, do that, you know, I don't know if I think that falls through though. My impression of medical school was that I think it was largely accurate, mostly because I knew that I wanted to do it from a young age. So I knew what doctors did every day. But my perception, of course, was, you know, you're never home, whatever, which is true. You're never home. You're always in the books. Right now I'm in my 2nd year, which means I'm preparing for the board exam. The board exam is basically one test that sort of determines your life. It's sort of like the MCAT, but more important in a way, because it sort of points you in which direction you're going, specialty-wise. So I'm spending a lot of time both in the courses I'm taking and preparing for that exam. So there are little things that basically what I'm trying to say is there are little things that you just don't know about like that take a lot of time. I think too many people say that it's too time consuming. And I don't want to come off as saying that it's an easy thing to do, but I'd say the toughest part is maintaining your interests and your personal health, because I think too many people, they sort of focus too much on the curriculum or whatever, and then they'll realize, oh wait, you know, I have a life, and then they'll just completely ignore what they previously focused on. It's like there's no equilibrium. So I'd say, a lot of people say life balance, whatever, if that's the way to describe it, fine, but I'm sort of juggling between my family and the board exam, my clinical experience and the curriculum, and having a healthy emphasis on all of those, as well as my personal interests, I think is probably the most difficult thing to do, because you'll end up focusing on one thing too much, and then sort of lose a general approach. I'd say I enjoy, like I said before, the unique aspects of medicine are intellectual rigor and coupled with interpersonal skills plus some other sort of physical procedure thing. What I mean by that is touching patients, helping out people, but coupling that with stuff that I read in the book. The whole process of trying to integrate that in your mind and make it a consolidated whole is really awesome to me, because it's an opportunity to demonstrate to myself that I can make a reality things that I've always sort of studied in my undergraduate experience and stuff. I'd say that's probably the most fulfilling part. besides the fact that in medicine it's like a big mystery novel, sort of. Someone comes in with some general stuff and you have to divine from that, you know, oh, you have some microorganism floating around in your lungs, even though they probably didn't even know that. You're like Sherlock Holmes, sort of going through their body. The patient has no idea what you're doing, but you know what you're doing because they're like this landscape mystery, and you're sort of probing here and there. So I sort of like, I guess the two of those components together sort of combined, plus the fact that, I mean, the people that I work with are awesome. Like, I've worked in car washes my whole life. My dad owned a car wash, and you know, working with those guys was fun and all, but when you work with doctors, it's sort of like, you know, it's like a brotherhood. It's like, you know, I don't know how I feel about that, but it's just fun knowing, you know, you got a big team of people that you can always rely on, and I think that's another awesome part of the professional life.